So let's get into it, yo. If you look down here, you're gonna notice that the street is called Fort York. See, it says Fort York Boulevard on it. The bus stop says Fort York, right? So the reason that street to the north of us, you see down there, if you keep going down there, you're gonna get to the lake. All right? All right, and that lake, by the lake, I mean Lake Ontario. So you see all this all over here? If you look over there, that thing, it has engraved in it. It says Fort York. And actually, I'm gonna go over there and make you see what I'm going. Yeah, don't mind the graffiti, yo. This is Toronto. You know what I'm saying? All right, first things first. What's that? What's that? Downtown Toronto. You know what this is, bro? This is what I use for people that try to diss my country. See? One big gun. You ramp with me, I'm busting this on you. Alright? So look at that. It's not a joke, bro. Alright? This is what it is. It's an 8-inch shell gun. The smoothbore muzzle loading gun, along with 6 others. 5 shell guns and 32 pounder, was mounted as part of an improved harbor defense battery at Fort York, just west of here, in 1862. An additional training battery of 2 32 pounders was located near where the Princess Gate now stands, cast in 1843 by the firm of Samuel Walker and Company of Rotherham, England. It was designed to fire a 68-pound exploding shell. You understand? Look what it says. Toronto's defensive capabilities were bolstered in the early 1860s. All right. So why did it need to be bolstered at that time? Right? Why did they bring these guns here at this time? I'm going to tell you why. Because there's history to this. Let's go over here first of all. Check what this thing have chiseled in it. See there? Okay. What does that say now? Fort York, 1793. Okay. So what happened in between 1793 and the time period they're talking about? Why are we building a fort in 1793 and then bolstering our defenses in 1860? I'm going to tell you why. You see, that way, when you go south over there, our Lake Ontario, on the other side of Lake Ontario is the United States, bro. And these guys try to rush us, bro. They try to come in here and rush Canada like they're bad man, like they're gonna come take over Canada, bro. See? But we showed them what going. Yeah, we slapped them in their eyes, bro. 1812. You understand? Now I don't know if over here is gonna talk about it. Alright? But I'll tell you right now, 1812. Seeing? 1812, the West India regime. And we come here, so I help them. Seeing? Yeah. And we went down there, bro, and we burned up the White House, bro. It ain't a joke, bro. But 9,000 BC. You see that? 9,000 BC. Native people occupied this region at the end of the last ice age. My ancestors were here. Don't forget that. 1615, the French explorer Etienne Brulé is the first European to visit the Toronto area. You understand? And when he came here, he saw my ancestors. See? And the same thing happened over in Acadia, but we're just gonna let this one float right here. 1759, the French abandoned nearby Fort Roulet when the British capture what? Fort Niagara. You understand? So that's why it's called Niagara Street. You understand? Lieutenant Governor John Graves Simcoe builds Fort York at the mouth of Garrison Creek and founds the town of York. That's right. So if you're living in NYC on the other side of the lake, right? Well, that's the new York. See it? This are the first York, Toronto. Don't forget it. We start the thing. 1813. 27th of April, 2,750 Americans defeat 750 British, Canadians, and who? Natives in the Battle of York. See? So you see why we're bolstering our defenses? They came over here, bro, and they beat up our man. But look at they were like, what, 3 times the size, their army? Bullies. 1813, during a short occupation, the Americans burned York's Parliament buildings and government house. You understand? So they're burning up all of our political stuff. 1830, Americans raid the undefended York. Why was York undefended? Why was York undefended? Right? I'm in Canada right now. I don't understand why they're not talking about that part, but I'm going to get to that part. 1814, during its reconstruction, the fort drives off a third U.S. attack as part of the successful defense of Canada. So in 1814, you hear that? They were able to box away the statesman, send them forward at the States, and they had to run away. And then 1814, British forces avenge the loss of York's public buildings in 1813 by burning those in Washington. Okay, so you see, I myself now, I thought that happened in 1812. The reality is in 1814, that's when the West India Regiment, because you see, Canada was getting bullied, bro. Canada was getting bullied. So they had to send for the Mandem in Jamaica. They had to send for the Mandem in Guyana. They had to send for the Mandem in Trinidad. They even sent for the Moors in Mali. Seeing? So our family, you know what I mean? The natives of Canada, right? The colonial Canadians, right? And remember, British Empire, right? So all of the black warriors, them from all over the Caribbean, we came here, and in 1814, we did what? We avenged the loss of York's, Toronto's, right? You burnt down our parliament, our public buildings. We went and we burnt the ones where? Washington. All right? So if you think it's a joke, you think, say what? We didn't burn up the White House you have now is not the first White House, bruh. We burned spliffs on that, bruh. We lit that up and light some big spliff. You understand? 1834. The town of York becomes the city of Toronto. Tirana. Seeing? 1834. Before that, we were York. Okay? 1834 to 41. Defenses are improved during the rebellion crisis. All right, so who's rebelling? Let's remember this too, eh? Slavery's still going on these times. So the fact that that York in 1834 got to become Toronto, well, some Jamaicans had something to do with that. Some Trinidadians had something to do with that. Some Guyanese had something to do with that. Some Bajans had something to do with that. See? Right. And we were all what? British American at that time. So why aren't we immediate citizens of here? You understand? Just on that strength. Besides our family who what? Was kidnapped from Canada and sent to the Caribbean enslaved. But I'm going to leave that at that for now. 1837 to 1841, Toronto's defenses are improved. Like I said, 1850s to 1920s, railways and Lakefill radically changed the fort's place on the waterfront. That's why we now have that big old railway I showed you all in the short earlier. 1860s, Fort York is strengthened to meet threats of American attack. So you see, there's history to this, bruh. If you want to go on like say, this thing is brand new. No. The reason why this is happening today with the trade wars and him saying he's going to annex Canada is because of this history. It was only in the 1860s. So we're talking less than 200 years ago, bro. Right? That we burned up the White House. You think he doesn't remember that? Right. So now they're thinking what they're going to continue this in these times. Right? But we don't need to call the West India regime anymore, bro. The West India regime is here. So you try that, and those cannons were getting lit. Now, 1870, Britain transfers Fort York to the Canadian military. You see that? Which uses the site until 1932. So you see, we changed to Toronto, right? And then we did what? We even have our own military now. Seeing? Okay. And you know, I'll tell you something, more and more of I are here now too. Seeing? So Britain realized, say, yo, we have to just let the Jamaicans in, let the Caribbeans in, so that, yo, the place can be safe, you know? 1903, 1915, citizens fight encroachments on the fort by a streetcar line and packing plant. So they got the streetcars, right? That's okay. If you're not from Toronto, that stop that you see right there, that's not a, well, I think buses do go there too, but it's a streetcar stop. And if those cords you see up there, the streetcars go along that and a track. And there's a train over there. I'm gonna show you when it passes. But 1932 to 34. Wait, hold on. 1909, the Canadian government grants the fort to the city of Toronto. So it was governed nationally before. All right, it was governed nationally, but now the city governs it. All right, and then the city restored it as a historic site museum. So that probably means there's probably a way to go inside there. I've never even been inside, so that'd be proper. 1958 to 59, proposals to move the fort for the Gardiner. What is that? Do you know what the Gardiner is? That hunk of concrete you see over there, right? That's the Gardiner Expressway. You know what I'm saying? And they wanted to, I guess, destroy the fort. So I don't know if they were going to make the Gardiner bigger or if it was going to be more east. I don't know what's cracking with that. But 2002, Fort York Boulevard opens, improving views and access to Fort York. And what's Fort York Boulevard? Fort York Boulevard is right here. See? So this opened in 2002, which is kind of crazy when you think about it, right? And I know a lot of these condos, they didn't get built until probably after that time right there. So, yeah, that's pretty mad when you think about it. Yeah, I guess here was just empty, or I know I didn't really remember still, but yeah. Yeah, so that's what's up, Fort York. You know what I mean? And so, like I said, let's go peep the fort. Let's go take a look at it. I don't know if I can get over, but yeah.